This RØDECaster video is going to be a lot different from everybody else's. So, buckle up. Something we've never really talked about on the Threefold YouTube channel is our hobbies outside of work. All of us have different passion projects that we pour our free time and our lives into. They range anywhere from, fun cocktails to an incredible TikTok account that I'd recommend checking out. And heck, we'll even be displaying a couple of those hobbies later on in this video. For me, one of my hobbies is live production. I've been doing live production since I was a kid. Broadcast journalism was one of my majors in college, and I even managed our university's TV station, mostly because I was a big nerd in college, and frankly, I still am. Now, even the day I graduated, ESPN had me wear my cap and gown during the production. I loved doing live production, and I kept working in the industry full-time for a few years until I started here. Now, what I'm getting at is that throughout years of working and, running around and during productions and events, I've gained a lot of experience with this, and I get excited to hear about products that kind of bridge the boundaries of film and live production. And that's where the RØDECaster video comes into the picture. It's a play on the name of their classic RØDECaster series of audio mixers, and the RØDECaster video is sure a sight for sore eyes when it comes to small-scale vision mixers. With fewer than 20 buttons and 2 dials and a touchscreen, there's a significant paradigm shift that comes with using this mixer, and that's a good thing. Especially for users who just want to plug in their devices, maybe add a couple of mix effects and hit stream, record a podcast, or go to TikTok or whatever's cool at the time when you're watching this video. Something I want you to keep in mind is that our unit is a pre-release unit, and we pushed it to the limits. You know how everybody else got to release their videos already, like the day that the RØDECaster video was announced? Well, we had some bugs that set us back. And nobody else had found these bugs. I don't think anybody else has tried to do what we've tried to do with this product yet. So we sat tight, Rode helped us debug it, and they got things right. And I'll say it right now and a bunch of times, I am so glad that Rode was that responsive to finding bugs and pushing out updates. It makes me feel safe recommending this product to people, especially knowing that they will be taken care of. My first thought with seeing the RØDECaster video was, wow, that is a lot bigger than I expected it to be. But when you're able to shove this many ports into one device, you kind of need the extra space. That lets the surface have extra room for buttons, and that doesn't necessarily mean more buttons, but in this case, larger buttons that are easier to press and harder to fumble. Directly to their right is the touchscreen to change options on the fly, and above that, there are 2 dials to adjust settings. On the back side, there are all of the I/O ports, and on the bottom, there are 4 screw ports for mounting this to, well, honestly, whatever you'd like to mount it to. From a technical perspective, you can play media directly off the micro SD card, and there's an asterisk with that. I love saying that. Later in the video, I will talk about the issues with that playback. In addition to that, you can record ISO outputs and your program mix directly to a solid state drive. You can directly output your live stream to a number of platforms, or you can at the same time output through USB-C and HDMI. It's a lot like other mixers in that regard. Also of note is the ability to key 2 different sources, a green screen or a blue screen, whatever color key you want to use in those 2 regards, and there's ways to finesse that. And then you have a preset number of mix effects plus auto mix, and that is one of the biggest selling points to this mixer. And it's not usually something you see in lower cost devices. I remember old broadcast picks devices having that, and my mind was blown away with the potential of that. And now you can do that with a mixer that fits inside of your glove box in your vehicle if you have one, or inside of somebody else's vehicle, I guess. And if you don't believe me, see for yourself here. Now, I'm sure there's another group of people that are saying, well, I can do that with OBS or vMix and a laptop. And to you, I'm going to say, awesome, that's great, keep on keeping on. But imagine not having to worry about managing a custom PC setup and not needing the technical know-how to do that. This is a simple device, and it lets you get right to operating. The other big part of it is that the more you get to know it, the more you can do with it. Really, the RØDECaster video is a product that starts out powerful and simple, and it just keeps getting more powerful the more you use it. One last topic that I want to touch on before we get into the examples of what we did and start really breaking things down is the Rode Central software. Now, this is an incredibly powerful addition to the mixer. It's so powerful that I would feel comfortable using it to direct a show from outside of a podcast booth or wherever, especially considering that you can see the video preview on screen in the app. It also lets you create effect layers, use a full-fledged visual audio mixer, apply effects, apply more advanced key settings, set up auto switching, change device settings, apply a permanent logo or bug, and import and export shows. Seriously, it's a simple feature that I have really come to love. I was able to work on each show ahead of time, make a backup of it, save it, export it, and then I was able to re-import it as we were getting ready for each show directly before it. If I were bringing this mixer between locations, that would be a lifesaver. Going between, say, a sporting event, and then you have to go and stream like a podcast or a play or something, you can just import the other show from the last time you did the event, or from getting prepped ahead of time, and then you're all set and you just plug in your inputs and your show is ready to go. And it's not like this is the only mixer that has that, but it is a feature that is phenomenal to have. It's time to get into the examples of where I could see the RØDECaster video being used in a day-to-day setting. Now, some of these are going to be more likely use cases than others. We have a sports setup, we have an esports setup, a streaming setup, and a podcast recording setup. And a lot of you have already seen different people do podcast recording setups. I'm going to try and show off the features and some of the not features of the RØDECaster video, which I hope will give you a good idea of where it stands for a production that you may or may not use it for. Each of these examples, as I said earlier, was recorded before the RØDECaster video was announced. So I'm going to give an overview of what the most important notes are for each one, and then break each example down. Our first example that I want to go over is a sporting event. Obviously, we're going to be talking about the RØDECaster video. So this is all just a demonstration. This is all just for fun. Keenan will make your announcements. Caleb, your stats are wrong, so don't be offended. And also, your name is spelled with a K for the day.
Get ready to rumble!
All right. All right. So Joel and Caleb, we're ready. And we're going to roll the intro video. That's rolling.
Should I go?
We're going to go to you in a second here.
Hello and welcome to PIG Pig Tournament at the Threefold Sports Network, Threefold Warehouse. We are getting things underway here.
One of the big downsides is that you will see me cut the title on and off. You cannot dissolve or use a transition with the titles at this point in time.
Joel Land. He is standing at a tall 6'2", 180 pounds, age 35. He's ready for this game, sort of. There it was. Now cutting over to the other competition, Caleb Hoff, spelled with a K today, 6'1", 180, 35 years old. He has been practicing all morning.
Something else that most of you have probably noticed at this point is that this footage is super interlaced. These cameras are 1080 i60. They're ENG style cameras that I had. They're my spares. I wanted to use ENG style for this because that's what you would use for sports. My other ones are being used for an event. Honestly, this is kind of a blessing and a curse because I was accidentally able to test what interlaced sources look like with this mixer. It's unfortunate that the video does not get de-interlaced yet or even have an option for that. It sounds like maybe this is something that could be fixed with an update. I'm not sure. And as of making this video, that has not been implemented yet. So I wanted to make sure people know about that. I will say something that caught me off guard is that I am so used to hitting a transition delegation button before I take my transition. I ended up putting the title layer live by accident. I was supposed to transition to a scene bank and I messed that up. So that was my fault. Whoops. So essentially the way the score bug works in this case is that it is keyed from just a PowerPoint file, and that is a live source that can be updated. That's one of our background layers that we put into an effect layer. And then in front of that, we have the title layer that can go in front of that. And technically there's a third graphic layer that you can put on top of all of those, and that is the logo overlay that you can add in the Rode Central software. So you get quite a bit of capability with the different keying options and the different title options.
Showing Joel, he's...
I don't actually know what the score is. Oh, there it is. Keenan helped me out there. So now that just updated in here real time. That's open. Also, I want to note, I'm not using any special software here. It's just PowerPoint with a green background on it to be able to key. I'm a firm believer in using simple tools for jobs and not overcomplicating it. I really liked how easy it was to key the graphic and integrate that into the mix. But one thing that really worked against me here was the fact that, at least at this point in time, you can't transition graphic layers on and off. So I'm really used to being able to do that with other control surfaces, and it's tough to work without that feature in real time here for me. I also struggled at first to direct using the scene banks where the score bug was located. It got easier with time, but it definitely took some practice. So for sports, if that's something you're going to be doing, practice using your effects banks to mix instead of your camera rows and mixing between those two to get that seamless.
That's all for Threefold Sports Network for today.
So overall, producing a live sporting event is not only possible, but honestly, is pretty pleasant on the RØDECaster video.
Get tight on Zach.
Having a lot of the options stripped away would be great for sending, say, a less experienced team into the field, and it would still let them be able to push out a reliable, solid stream. That is, assuming your cameras aren't interlaced. Our next example is Esports, and we had a bit of fun with this one, but it didn't quite turn out the way I hoped it would. You see, after the pig game, there was a firmware update, and that led us to have a few issues that nobody else encountered. I want to make it very clear that Rode was super receptive and very helpful after we found these bugs, and that these issues no longer exist. They are taken care of, and this mixer works as expected. I've definitely encountered other companies where that is not the case, so thank you, Rode. It was great to be able to debug that. I've been playing around with the scene creator here a little more, and it's been very slick to be able to just build everything in here and then be able to still use the hardware controlled surface to take care of everything. So you'll see one of the bugs that we had in most of the transitions for this segment. Every time we dissolve between sources, you'll see that it like cuts and there's like this jittering to it. There's another bug that we encountered here where I tried to dissolve to an animated squeeze back graphic. The playback stops when I transition to it, but not when I cut to it. So that was kind of that's a weird bug. I really wanted to use inputs 5 and 6 for this demo to show a wide shot of both players and then have a camera dedicated to our announcer, who in this case just ended up being a virtual announcer. I couldn't get a number of USB-C devices to work with it. You can see it locks up. And the ones that did work had a terrible frame rate. Apparently this is because the RØDECaster video only works with uncompressed UVC devices. And Rode released a statement, a post on this on their website to talk about the confusion with the USB inputs. That being said, the RØDECaster video did perform very well and it was easy to mix with. I'll play this one back, and we had some live commentary. We reviewed it right after in person, and I think our commentary is worth listening to.
Hello and welcome to the Galaga Gaming Tournament. This is an exciting game, although this game is not in any way affiliated or sponsored by Galaga. Clearly. We have a pig rematch of the century with Caleb and Joel. This is a pig rematch. Caleb is the winner of the pig game, and Joel is coming for revenge.
It's a good look.
I tried to adjust my chair. First bonus stage. Although you are immediately disqualified if you lose all 3 ships first. So you do want to keep on to hang on to all 3 of those ships. Otherwise, you will immediately lose, and the other person will win. So, what do you say? How about we get started, fellas?
Let's do this.
All right. On your marks. Gear up.
We should have been mic'd up like ESPN.
I had a shotgun on you, but yeah, I would have preferred headsets.
To start the game. We're still on the 1 player. Oh.
So then I realized your guys' levels were hot from the game, so I was able to bring those down in real time.
It makes for good drama. I started, laid out the blocks.
They're just crushing me. I'm just shooting all over the place.
Caleb with some early accuracy.
You can see like when it does the dissolve, it glitches.
Oh, interesting.
That's
very quickly.
that's a fault of the just being beta software still.
They are head to head. You can see the seriousness in their face as they compete on this basic laptop game from their childhood.
Ooh,
Oh, that was a close call.
I did die.
Caleb down to.
I should have done a 4-up with both of you on the screen, top and bottom.
Both ships.
Would have been a good look.
In a small lead.
I thought Joel was going to do the double ship trick there. Caleb's mouse is in the middle of the screen the whole time.
Oh yeah, shoot.
challenging stage. Oh, we kind of caught up with each other, didn't we?
Caleb also there as well.
Just missed it all. Kind of redeemed myself there,
Score
though.
of 94-50. Caleb
It's okay. Keaton got the score wrong too.
With a commanding lead of 12,000 right now.
Classic esports, just looking into the brain dead face.
Was the winner. Congratulations. He hit his revenge. And why don't we play our Power Pulse Player of the Day? That would be...
So then when you fade into a different effect, it won't actually, like, this is supposed to be animated. So when I faded into it, it didn't do it. So I had to go back, and then I realized if you cut into it, it will do the animation. So that's another thing we get to report to them.
Power Pulse Player of the Day.
Our power pussy.
Feel your game. That's pretty fun. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
The next example I set up was a music streaming example. Remember how we talked about hobbies? Well, one of our team members, Danny, is a very talented musician. She does interactive shows with kids called Miss Danny Mo. Built a fun set and got all the instruments and mics plugged in. And then for the most part, with this one, I just kind of let AutoMix do its thing, and it worked really well. If I hadn't been putting in graphics and if I didn't have like a video at the beginning of it, I honestly would have felt confident letting AutoMix handle everything after the intro segment.
Hello, welcome to the Miss Danny Mo Show. We're gonna do a quick little show for you today where we'll do our little maker's moment, a little craft, and then a tiny, tiny little song. Ready? We'll need a friend to tell us that we are indeed loved, that we are capable of great things. So much to learn, so many places to go. You got a friend in Miss Danny Mo. That's me. So today, our craft is going to be, wow, a recycled material craft, my favorite. And we're using toilet paper. We'll use this in the bathroom, but what do you do when all you have left is one of these? And usually you just throw it away. Well, you can make a craft. And it was something I did a lot when I was little. I cut it in half, and then I do a very special fold like this. See that? Fold it in. And then you have yourself a little fairy chair. It's so little. Anything could sit in there. Any toy you got or something. And then you can decorate it too. I found an umbrella.
Let me be the first to apologize for the out of focus shot on camera B. If you hate that, talk about it in the comments.
Maker's gotta make. I wonder what we'll create. What you imagine can come to be when we use creativity. Well, that's it for today, guys. Thank you for joining me. I hope you make something. Bye.
In my mind, especially with the other RØDECaster products, the podcast part is kind of insinuated with a product like this. In a more perfect world, I would have liked to have had Haley and Danny use the mixer on their own, with me in a different room, watching over Wi-Fi and finessing the mix with the RØDECaster Central software. If you need to train new people to use something like this, it's not that big of a deal because it's very intuitive. It's easy to figure out.
Hi everybody, welcome to Rock Talk North Dakota. I'm Danny.
And I'm Haley, but you know that.
You know that. This is our 182nd episode. We have a lot to always talk about when it comes to hobby rock climbing.
Oh, sure.
How I would have preferred to do the podcast with this setup is I would have had it auto mixing. And this is actually how I did have it set up. Go through, set the auto mixing. Camera 1 here will turn on, set it to a higher priority. This one will include mics 1 and 2. Camera 2 will be linked to microphone 1, and camera 3 will be linked to microphone 2. So that was as easy as that, and now it should automatically switch between cameras. Those features didn't work. I don't know if things were smooth on your end. You were able to hear yourselves the whole time, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep,
okay.
Yep.
So it's just the auto mixing portion that wasn't working.
So this whole group that goes down to South Dakota originated in someone's garage.
Yes.
And then it just kind of grew into, yearly trips down to South Dakota to actually do some big wall climbing, which is different than bouldering because you actually have a rope.
Well, it has someone who's a leader.
They'll clip in at multiple anchor points, so it's safe for them to fall as well, but they're kind of your MVP.
It cut the entire program feed to black. It was really weird. It should not have done that because when I went and saved the scene and then went back to it, it was working. That didn't happen yesterday. Like, this is something that is only happening today.
Oh, when it went to black, did it cut our audio at all?
No.
It just visual. Interesting.
We're going to wrap this up. Here's a final photo of me on the wall and my most expensive outfit.
Aside from your wedding dress.
Yep. There I am, taking photos.
Looking great. That wraps up our 194th episode of Rock Talk.
Thanks for joining us again.
Goodbye.
We'll see you next time.
I love you.
Rock on.
With all of those examples, here are my final thoughts on why this is a really good vision mixer and what areas might still hold some people back. The first big win goes to the absolute simplicity of this unit. But at the same time, part of me wonders if it was made maybe a little too simplistically. I would not have minded a dedicated dial or slider for each audio input, to be able to adjust at least, the main two of them from the front without having to go into the menu. The second big win here goes to the mix effects. Being able to save 7 of them ahead of time and also create them on the fly is a major win. The third big win here is the clear focus on audio and mixing. The companion app, RØDECaster Central, really makes mixing audio easy. Pair it with the touchscreen computer and it would really feel like a normal mixer. The dedicated XLR ports on the back are a big selling point as well, in addition to phantom power and all of the customizable options that you get along with it. Additionally, the fact that you can have 3 different audio outputs plus an HDMI audio output to your monitors is a real winning feature. Not only that, but you get Røde's built-in equalizers and their enhancers, although they're more simplistic than what you'd find on the other RØDECaster products. So, it's not like that's a bad thing though, these definitely get the job done. Next up, keying, also super easy. I wouldn't be mad to see a matte key option, but with only 6 inputs, I'm not surprised it's not in there. And that's just scratching the surface. Something I don't even think I covered in this video is that you can also delay audio. If some of your inputs are laggy, let's say you're using an NDI converter or something like that, then that's a must-have feature because you have to have lip sync with that. ISO recording is also a nice and frankly necessary feature for a lot of us, so that is definitely making it onto my list. It's just as easy to sync up in post as the Blackmagic ATEM's outputs are, you just won't get the resolved timeline that a lot of us know and love. That's not necessarily a deal breaker for me though, since all of the clips can be layered and they have the same inputs, so you just throw the program feed on top of that and you just cut to other layers as necessary. For me, the timeline itself is a nice to have but not need to have feature. And finally, of course, I have to mention auto mixing on here because that is a sweet feature. It is so cool to be able to watch the mixer, take different priority inputs, and choose what to cut to based off of whatever criteria you provided in the Røde Central software. What areas might not make this product right for you? Well, for starters, not being able to transition overlays on and off using anything but a cut, I hope that's a feature that gets changed really soon. That's assuming it hasn't been changed already to be able to allow for dissolves or different transitions. Just keep that in mind if that's something you really think you'd need. Granted, there are ways around this using effect layers, but then you're going to end up beating up your FX bank, so you kind of have to weigh your options there. Another area that might be problematic for some users is the lack of media control. For me, being able to restart a clip or scrub through it, that's something that I absolutely need for productions. In this case, I'd have to use an external DDR or a different audio player if I wanted to be able to control playback. Again, Røde was receptive to this feature when I talked to them, so there's a chance it could already be implemented by the time you watch this video, but it's worth mentioning. If that is something you need, then keep that in mind. Something else that's a bit of a bummer is the inability to change the HDMI outputs to be of a specific input. Swapping my HDMI output is a trick that I use fairly often with other mixers, especially when I want a fast and dirty way to get content on a screen without getting a router or a splitter involved. Again, maybe this feature will be added by the time you watch this video, and I know I talked about it earlier, but if that's something that you rely on, then I want to make that clear to you right now. Another bit of a bummer point is that the USB inputs don't have phenomenal compatibility. Keep that in mind as you purchase this because it'll add some cost to your purchase if you plan on using all 6 video inputs. The lack of deinterlacing normally wouldn't be a problem, but cameras still use interlaced footage, and if I am outputting that, I would expect it to be deinterlaced on the mixer side. Now, this isn't something I've tested with the ATEM. I don't know if that deinterlaces footage or not, so that problem might not be specific to the RØDECaster video, but I still want to mention it because if you're planning on taking one of those interlaced signals and bringing it into here, you'll need to use some kind of a device that can conform the footage to be used here, something like a monoprice converter or something similar to that. And finally, let's talk about the elephant in the room, the lack of 4K and HDR. I understand broadcast standards are still generously 1080 at best, but for online streaming or especially recording, 4K or more K is going to be king. I won't be surprised when a pro version of this comes out with 4K and or HDR support, but keep in mind, other mixers in this weight class don't do 4K either. I want to end on a high note here. Rode has been great to work with on the pre-release of this product and even after its release. It's been a lot of fun getting to know this device, getting to know its quirks, and it was a really enjoyable experience. Overall, I think for anyone just getting started with a video podcast, where maybe you already have a DSLR or 2 or 3 or 4, and you want to take the next step, this would be a very powerful tool to have. And it would make a lot of sense as a next step to help yourself down the road. Auto mixing and ISO recording would be everything I'd be looking for if I wanted to roll out a podcast with a fast turnaround and a small crew. Couple that with all of the audio capabilities of the RØDECaster video, and you have an incredibly powerful unit inside of a very small footprint. Finally, being able to go beyond just podcasts and do live streaming or sporting coverage, whether that's real sports or esports, gives this product a lot of range to be used with, and that's something I think we need more of, especially while being easy to use. This is something the RØDECaster video does really well. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions about the RØDECaster video or you want to see some different examples, let us know what you're thinking in the comments. I'd be happy to share my experiences there too, and if you liked the video, hit the thumbs up button, and if you didn't like the video, just remember that you can still hit the thumbs up button. Rode's an Australian company, and down there, thumbs downs are really thumbs up on this side of the globe. See you in the next video. An incredibly powerful addiction. Oh my goodness.
You guys both reach opposite side. No. Yeah, you reach that way. You kill him. You reach that way. Yeah, there you go.
For it, I wanted the NG bot. Oh, dang it. What was I going to say?
What we're going to use, oh gosh. I really like that take, damn it.
From a technical perspective, that's hard to say. Being able to save 6 of them ahead of, oh my God, you can save 7 of them.